The crypto space has been absolutely non-stop since the whole FTX saga has started, and we have a lot to cover that has just happened over the past few days. Everything from Drake's apparently into Bitcoin, I had no idea, to the current acting FTX CEO telling us and giving us answers to some things that we had already speculated on that he confirms for us. So you're going to want to stick around to hear that. There is also a rumor of a Goliath possibly falling victim to the FTX contagion. And I'm talking about a Goliath in the space. This would be bad news if it is true. We're going to cover that. We also know who the FTX hacker was, and it's probably not who you think, and it's quite an interesting story. So we're going to touch on all of these things. Before we get into that, guys, I just want to say, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down there for me. I really would appreciate your support. Before we dive into everything, I've got a funny TikTok video for you guys to get us started that I think does a really good job at summing up the whole FTX situation. This is from creator Dan Toomey. I'm going to link him down below. Show him some love. I thought this video, again, was pretty funny.
Hi, would you like to put money in my crypto exchange?
Oh, I don't know. Aren't those risky?
No, mine is different.
How?
Well, do you see that crypto, bro?
Hi, my name is Captain Laser. I snort ice crystals.
Now take a look at me. I don't sleep or bathe.
I don't know.
Good enough for us. Here you go.
Whoa, you're getting funding.
Yep. And if you put money in, you can get some of our currency too.
Oh, deal. Wow, I'm rich.
Wait, but those are just tissues. No. These are face tissue token. Face tissue, FTT.
Okay, but no one else is going to buy into that.
Senator, FTX is not like other crypto platforms. We actually want regulation.
What?
You know, I like this guy. I was gonna say the same thing.
Wait.
Altruism.
What?
That sounds good to me.
What's going on?
Football.
Well, I want in. I like the sound of this. I own the Miami Heat.
What is money? Am I wrong? Am I an idiot? Thank you everyone for your support. With this money, I and only I can save crypto.
Only you.
Oh,
What created it?
whatever. We'll grow bigger and better than... Oh, shit.
Hey, did he just light his face tissue on fire? I want my money back.
Well, yeah, same.
Well, yeah, no, I don't want this anymore.
What am I gonna do?
Where is the
I
money?
can't
Where
do
is the
anything.
money? Okay, let me get it 1 second. So does this affect me at all?
I hope you guys like that. Again, I thought it was pretty comical because I feel like it does a really good job at summing up the whole situation. So, okay, getting down to it. We'll start with Drake's whole crypto thing because I thought that this was pretty funny. He tweeted out a picture. I think he tweeted out. It ended up on Twitter. A picture of his diamond-encrusted ledger, and it says, "Waiting on you, Bitcoin." So I thought that was pretty funny. I thought I would share it with you guys. Apparently, Drake's into crypto. Apparently, he's self-custodying his own tokens on a diamond-encrusted ledger. So good for you, Drake. That's pretty funny. Okay, getting to the acting CEO of FTX. So John Ray was the guy that Sam brought on to take the CEO spot during the bankruptcy for FTX. In a couple videos ago, I said that I thought he was the bankruptcy attorney. It turns out that's not the case. He's basically a guy that you call in when shit hits the fan. This is literally his job, is to help companies that are in bankruptcy recover as much money as they can. I believe he was on, the biggest deal that he did was Enron, I believe it was. So he's a big deal. He's a well-known guy, very highly reputable. So a lot of people know who he is. He's had a lot of success in the past. And he stepped in and said that this is the worst situation he has ever seen. Again, this is coming from a guy who does this for a living and has done it for some of the biggest companies to ever go out of business. So for him to say it, to me, that carries a lot of weight. Now, to start off in the comments that he made, we got a tweet, and this is according to CEO John Ray, so the guy that is looking at FTX documents right now. He says FTX customer funds were used to buy homes for employees and advisors in the Bahamas. So not only were they trading with customer monies, but they were buying homes with customer money, which to me is like, they were basically treating customer money as their own. They were probably also buying a lot of other stuff that just wasn't big enough to show up on the balance sheet. So to me, that's like wild that they were basically just anything that was in any of the bank accounts, they were treating as their money. There was like almost no accounting, which is what I'm guessing John Ray is saying it's probably the worst part for him, because how do you track that? He even came out and said that he doesn't think he can trust any of the financials that were provided to him. He feels the need to redo all of them, which is just nuts to me. We also got word, and this is from the Wall Street Journal, was the original source. The tweet came from Watcher Guru, but again, the original source is Wall Street Journal. It says Sam Bankman-Fried personally took $300 million out of the $420 million raised in the FTX's 2021 funding round. So that is the majority of the funds that were raised in the 2021 funding went to Sam. $300 million out of $420 million. It's just crazy. And at this point, it's like, you just assume that all of the money was taken. Like, now I'm seeing so many headlines about stuff that they were doing that it's like, okay, I'm just going to assume at this point that all of the money that they were using was taken, because I don't know, like, what else they could possibly do to make this situation worse. Like, they literally checked everything in the book. Another thing that I thought was pretty funny, and this is coming from Coin Bureau, which he's a YouTuber. If you guys haven't checked him out, definitely worth checking out. But Coin Bureau put out, he says, so according to the bankruptcy filings, Alameda was exempt from being liquidated when trading on FTX, yet they somehow still lost $10 billion. So let that sink in. When Alameda was trading against you and me and other users on FTX, and don't forget that this is a market. So FTX, like, just because they're on FTX and maybe you didn't use FTX, they're still affecting the price of tokens, right? So they're trading and they literally can't get liquidated according to the way that FTX had them set up. Yet they still lost $10 billion. That's like pretty comical. I feel like you almost have to try to lose still after not being liquidated on an like, I just don't know how that even happens. It's pretty wild to me. Like, you got to be pretty stinking bad for that to roll out like that. But yeah, pretty crazy. So, okay, getting into the FTX hacker now. Turns out wasn't even a hacker. It was the Bahamas government seizing the rest of the FTX assets, which you're like, okay, that's not that fishy. A regulator, FTX is going out of business. They just want to hold the funds so that they know they're safe. Well, turns out not exactly. So for one, they never announced this until just now, because most people were tracking this on chain. They got the funds and they were swapping a bunch of it on CalSwap. I don't even know what CalSwap is. I mean, I know it's a DEX, but I never heard of CalSwap. And it turns out they were facing massive slippage when they were doing these trades. And we're talking about they put some money through CalSwap, and it's estimated that they lost somewhere around $30 million from doing one swap. Now, keep in mind the amount of Ethereum that the Bahamas government has basically inherited now. They're one of the top 30 biggest holders of Ethereum. So they're holding a ton in Ethereum. I think it was somewhere around $600 million or something like that. It's a lot. It's a lot of money. And they're trying to swap it on CalSwap, some DEX that nobody's ever heard of, and eating $30 million in liquidate or in slippage, which for those of you guys who don't know, in order to do a swap on a DEX, you can't really do it with this sort of volume, because there has to be enough money in the pools for you to do the swap. If there's not enough money, what'll happen is you'll eat a bunch of slippage, especially with this size. There's going to be bots that'll front run you in your order, and basically make you pay or sell at a really bad price. So in this case, they're basically selling Ethereum way below market, which is this slippage and how that's incurred. So pretty insane. I cannot believe, like, again, that's $30 million just gone, because I don't know if they don't know what they're doing or if they were trying to get away with something fishy. But the U.S. actually scrutinized them for these actions, and they basically told the U.S. off. So more to come on that. We'll cover that as it goes on. But I thought that whole thing was kind of weird. Like, so first of all, they're the hacker, and they took a bunch of money off FTX, but never made an announcement until people figured it out. And then we find out that they were swapping a bunch of it on CalSwap, which to me, this all comes in very fishy. Like, somebody somewhere was trying to take some of this money for themselves. after everything that has happened. I just cannot believe, like, people can't get their grubby hands out of the pot. So again, we'll figure out what all is going on there, but just a really weird situation. Something else that I thought was neat, which is going to be the last thing that I cover before we get into the Goliath that is suspected and hitting the rumor mill, could be in financial trouble. We really hope not. But there was this tweet from Documenting Bitcoin. It says history of Bitcoin lost on exchanges, and FTX is estimated to be 70,000 Bitcoin lost. I don't know how they got that number though, because it was said that they didn't hold any Bitcoin. I'm not sure if that's just because they locked it up. They can't get a hold of it anymore. I don't know, but there was no Bitcoin reported on their balance sheet. But thought this was kind of neat to see all the other exchanges that were on here. You got Mt. Gox up there at 650,000 Bitcoin lost, which for those of you who don't know, Mt. Gox was another massive exchange that went under a few years back. And back then, Bitcoin was worth nowhere near what it's worth now. But when you look at that number, it almost makes you want to puke. You're just like, oh God, that is so much money lost in today's numbers. But I wanted to share that because I thought it was neat. So, okay, the Goliath. Digital Currency Group is speculated to be going through some financial hardship right now. And for those of you who don't know, Digital Currency Group are the people who own CoinDesk. They own Grayscale, which Grayscale is the biggest piece of this in my eyes. That is they're speculating to be in pretty bad shape. Another one of their entities, which is Genesis Global Capital, is moments away basically from filing bankruptcy. We know this because Grayscale, the official Grayscale account, tweeted a thread, and it says, in the wake of recent events, our investors should know that the safety and security of the holdings underlying Grayscale digital asset products are unaffected. Today, Genesis Global Capital, a subsidiary of Grayscale's affiliate Genesis Global Trading, announced that it is temporarily suspending redemption and new loan originations. Genesis Global Capital is not a counterparty or servicer to Grayscale products. As a result, Grayscale products continue to operate business as usual, and recent events have had no impact on product operations. So that's good news, as they're claiming that there's been zero impact on Grayscale. The rest of the thread basically just talks about how they're going to continue operations at Grayscale, so I'm not going to bore you with the rest of that. But again, so Genesis is halting. It's looking like it's going to fail. And that's pretty much a given at this point. I think they said they need somewhere around, like, they need an insane amount of money. It was like $1 billion or something to keep it going. But again, this is a subsidiary of Grayscale, which is a part of the Digital Currency Group. So we hope that this doesn't affect Grayscale, but at this point in time, I mean, we've heard so many people come out and say that, oh, we're not affected by whatever, event that has happened, 3AC or FTX, like, oh, it's had no effect on us. And then like 3 days later, we end up with tweets about them going bankrupt. That literal same thing happened with FTX. I remember making the video talking about how I thought it was just a rumor, and then bam, like 2 days later, like the whole thing fell apart. So again, keeping an eye on this, not ringing the fire bell yet. And from what I understand, the Digital Currency Group has done a good job at mitigating risk and secluding risk to like certain entities instead of letting it spread across the whole business. So again, they're claiming that this whole Genesis thing isn't going to affect Grayscale, but things are not looking too great at Grayscale. We'll put it that way. So we got a tweet from Joe Consorti, and he says, as GBTC has been dumped by institutions all year long, parent company Digital Currency Group has chosen to pick up the bag. So 3AC dumped 100% of its bag, BlockFi dumped 100% of its bag. DCG is the largest holder of its subsidiaries Bitcoin Trust. So GBTC is a Bitcoin trust that you can buy on legacy exchanges, stuff, like stock market exchanges, stuff like that. It's like a way for big companies to get involved in crypto without having to buy the underlying asset. It's set up a crypto account and stuff like that. It allows them, basically Grayscale manages all the Bitcoin, and then big institutional investors can come in and buy just Grayscale tokens and have exposure to Bitcoin. Well, right now, they are the biggest holder of their own trusts. So they're the GBTC stock, I guess you want to call it, or trust, or whatever the technical term is for it. They're the biggest holders of it, which is never a good sign, right? Like, you don't want to see them having to step in and buy their own token. We've seen that before, time and time again. Luna being one big case where, they had to step in and buy their own token because they had to basically prop the price up, which again is something that you just don't want to see. I think I saw something that said that GPTC is now trading at negative 40% to NAV, which means the underlying asset values of GBTC are about 40% higher than what the stock price is. So the correlation between the two, the GBTC stock and the Bitcoin that it actually holds, there's a gap there. So traditionally, people would look at that gap and they would go, oh, this is a great opportunity to buy some GBTC to close that gap, because the value of the underlying asset, the underlying Bitcoin, it's like buying Bitcoin at a 40% discount, right? That's been like the theory for a while now, but it seems to me like every time I check the GBTC price, it's always trading below NAV. It's always trading below the asset value of the Bitcoin in there. And a lot of people have made this trade and speculated on this trade, and it almost seems to always underperform the actual crypto market. So we'll see what comes of this. I hope it is okay, because this is a big way for institutions to get involved in Bitcoin and everything else, which no surprise that they're selling, and no surprise that that sell pressure has had as large of an effect as it has had. I just hope that Grayscale is able to weather the storm here, because I think they do have a good product. I like the idea, and until there's a Bitcoin ETF, this is a great way for institutions to get exposure to crypto while still remaining in basically the U.S. Regulatory Securities Exchange Commission realm. They basically don't have to venture out into the speculative space of crypto itself. They can get exposure without that. So again, going to keep a very close eye on this situation, because again, if Digital Currency Group goes out of business, we are in another FTX situation. It is nowhere close to over if this ends up becoming a reality. Again, the good news is I think that Digital Currency Group does a good job at managing their businesses from everything that I've seen. And I know people have said that about FTX. And so you're probably wondering like, well, how do you know? And the fact of the matter is we don't know. That's why I'm talking about it, because we don't know. But from my understanding, they've been very professional. There's been no red flags. They've come out as soon as stuff has started to go wrong with Genesis. They told us. So again, just going to keep an eye on this, and you guys should too. But that is the Goliath that we are watching at the moment and hoping does not fall victim to FTX. They claim that they didn't have much exposure at all to FTX, so we will find out if that is true. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. One more time, hit that subscribe button for me. With that being said, I will see you guys next time.